Hey everybody, it's Dak here from the Ed Boys. Today's video is going to be a first look at Fossil Island, which is the new landmass that was just added in last Thursday's update. A lot of new content was added in this one, so the goal of this video is to really just check out a bunch of it and get some first thoughts on all of it. I will release another video in a couple of weeks once we've learned a little bit more about the island and any of the bugs or possible balance issues have been fixed. In that video, I'll go a little bit more in depth in some of the bigger stuff here. For this one, we're just going to try to touch on everything. First of all, how do you get to Fossil Island? To unlock access, you do have to do the Bon Voyage quest. To do this quest, you need 100 kudos in the Varrock Museum, you must complete the dig site quest, and you must have sailed to Zaya before. This quest is super easy to do, should only take like 15 minutes, and there's already a bunch of guides out there if you just look it up quick. So you should have no problem with this quest, and once you've completed it, you can speak to the Junior Navigator who will take you to the base camp. Congratulations! You've made it to Fossil Island. The first thing that you should do is probably help build up the base camp. There are 6 spots that you can build up camp, located as seen on the map here. To learn what you need for each spot, you just gotta go click on it and it'll tell you all the supplies. The total supplies you need would be a hammer, 10 oak planks, 2 iron bars, 25 nails of any kind, 1 tinderbox, 2 logs, 3 soft clay, 1 bucket, 2 ropes, and 5 regular planks. This is going to require 29 construction to do all of it, but once you build all 6, you can speak to Peter by the river, and he'll give you 5 small fossils. We'll talk about these fossils later. As for transportation to Fossil Island, the first thing I would do is grab a dig site pendant and head up to the house on the hill. Using your pendant on this strange machine will unlock a Fossil Island teleport to your dig site pendant. While you're up at the house, go ahead and click on this mush tree to unlock this spot on the teleport system. There's 4 of these mush trees around the island located as seen on this map. Once you visit a mush tree, you can teleport to that tree from any other tree, making it pretty handy for traveling around the island. It's like its own spirit tree system. Another mode of transportation around is the rowboat. This rowboat can be taken to the base camp, the barge, the northern part of the island, or even out to sea from the north spot, where you can dive underwater, which we'll talk about more later. Let's get back to the fossils. There are many activities on the island that you can obtain unidentified fossils. These fossils can then be cleaned on the table that you built for base camp. Identifying them will give you a piece of bone that once you get a full set of these bones, you can put them in the bottom floor of the museum for some kudos. Currently, the fastest method for fossils is killing lobstrosities, which are located in the underwater area. Popular weapon of choice is the Trine of the Swamp. This can be a little bit pricey, but if you're trying to hurry to Volcanic Mine, then this is the way I would do it. With a new landmass, of course, is going to come some new monsters. In this case, the big one would be wyverns. They have made their way into the game. Not skeletal wyverns, actual living ones. We have taloned, spitting, and long-tailed wyverns, which all required 62 Slayer to fight. And then there's also ancient wyverns, which is a stronger counterpart requiring 82 Slayer to fight. There is a Slayer task only dungeon and a normal dungeon for these wyverns, located as shown on the map. These wyverns do have some unique drops, starting with 2 new granite items. Granite boots and the granite longsword are mid-level items that probably won't see a ton of use, but they're still a decent price at the moment, so it could be a nice boost in profit if you get some. They also all drop the new wyvern visage, which can be combined with an elemental shield to make an ancient wyvern shield. This is a magic shield that lands somewhere between a malediction ward and an arcane spirit shield for the most part. It also has the effect of an anti-dragon shield and an elemental shield, so it can be used against dragons and wyverns. Overall, the regular wyverns are a mid-level Slayer monster with some decent drops for its requirements, and the ancients are a little bit more powerful and slow to kill, but still have some better drops, and the visage chance makes it pretty huge. The ancient wyverns have a better chance to drop the visage. Apparently it's not massive though. We don't know for sure though, so we'll probably know the exact rate in a couple of weeks. The Volcanic Mine is a new group mining minigame that requires 180 kudos to get in. Because of this kudos requirement, not a lot of people have gotten to the mine yet, so the XP rates really haven't gotten to what we expected it to be, and there's just not a lot of people doing it at the moment. So overall, there's some balancing issues with it, but we're currently just waiting for a lot more people to unlock the mine. On Fossil Island, there's a couple of ways that you can now train your hunter. First, they added some birdhouses into the game. You need crafting levels to make birdhouses, which do require a chisel, a hammer, and whatever kind of log you need depending on the birdhouse. There are a few different places to set up birdhouses around Fossil Island, and once they've been set up, you can just leave them to fill up and come back later for some hunter XP. Similar to doing like a tree run with farming, but you don't get amazing XP, so this is probably only helpful during lower levels, and overall, I don't think will be used too often. The other hunter method added to the game is a new way of tracking to catch an herbivore. Similar to regular tracking methods, you can examine little things around the island like holes in the ground, mounds of seaweed and stuff like that, and eventually you're going to find some footprints. You can then follow these footprints to find an herbivore. You don't need a noose to catch the herbivore though, since all you do is stun the cute little thing and pick some herbs off of its back. The main reason this is really different from any other tracking method is the area is really big to hunt herbivores. It's the majority of the island. There are spots in the mushroom forest, the tar swamp, and on the beach up north. You do get a little bit of herb lore XP from this, and the hunter XP is not horrible, but I really don't see this getting a ton of use. The only reason I would personally do it is because there's also a pet herbivore drop, and his name is Irby. Let's move on to the underwater area for a little bit. To go underwater, you're going to need a diving apparatus. You might want a fishbowl helmet too so you can breathe, but it is not needed. Also, if you wear flippers, you can swim faster, basically allowing you to use run underwater, but again, those aren't totally needed. If you take the boat from the north spot out to the sea, you'll be taken to a tiny island with a boat and a bank chest. You can then dive from that boat. You must not have anything in your hands though when you dive, but you can bring a weapon down with you and then equip it later. You just can't swim with a weapon on, so be careful not to go to deep waters. There are a few activities underwater. First of all, if you pass through this boat area into the deep water area, which requires you to not have a fishbowl, so you can just drop yours in this pile, you can start working on the new agility course. This course is basically a new version of the Brimhaven course, so there's only one clam or chest that you can steal from at a time. When you get the correct clam or chest, you can just spam click it, try to get some mermaid tears out. You get pretty good agility and thieving XP from this, though it's not the best in game for either of those skills. But you could trade the mermaid tears in for some fossils, a seaweed spore, or even a merfolk trident, which is used to speed up the fishing process. I've not spent a lot of time myself doing the fishing. You need drift nets, which are tradable items that can be made from using 2 jute fiber on a loom. You can unlock the private area for 200 nummulite, which only unlocks it for a full day, but you do get the full day for just 200. It's not that big of a deal. All you have to do is hang up your drift nets and then chase the fish into them. If you have a merfolk trident, then you can chase them a little more efficient apparently. I don't have my trident yet, so I haven't really gotten to try it. Overall, it's not supposed to be phenomenal XP. I do kind of like it, but I don't see myself using this fishing method very often. You can also grow giant seaweed underwater by planting seaweed spores. You can pay 200 nummulite to have each patch protected. It takes 70 minutes to grow, so they take almost as long as herbs, but they don't give a lot of XP, so I don't know how useful this is going to be. Another farming method added to Fossil Island was hardwood farming. Hardwood trees, including teaks and mahoganies, are like regular trees, but they take 4,480 minutes to grow, which is a little over 3 days. They can add decent farming XP to a 99 grind though, since it's just a small tree run, so probably worth doing. I definitely like this add-on. Apparently you can turn fossils into enriched bones using this pool here. I have not successfully done this yet. I've been focusing my fossils into museum kudos so far, so I'll make sure to have more info on this in the next Fossil Island video. In the tar swamp, we find a new woodcutting method. These mushrooms can grow in various places around the swamp, but only one spot at a time. There are tar monsters around that can deal some hefty damage, though they've already been weakened a little bit. The XP in here is similar to teaks when I tested it, but I didn't do it for very long, and it's possible there's a faster way to do it too. For me, it just wasn't really worth my time to continue doing it. I did go back into hunting fossils more, but overall, it does look like there's a decent woodcutting method here. Also residing in the tar swamp is the Deranged Archaeologist, a new demi-boss that works just like the Crazy Archaeologist in the wilderness. Keep in mind, the attack that you want to run from this archaeologist is when he yells, "Learn to read." There are no uniques from this archaeologist. Overall, his drop table is not horrible for such a simple boss, but as we've seen so far, he can stack you pretty hard, mostly because he's in such a small area, so you gotta be a little careful. Those are really all the things that I wanted to hit up in this first look at Fossil Island. So far, I do really like the island. It is always interesting when a large update like this is implemented. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I will get a more in-depth look over the next couple of weeks on some of the bigger points like the volcanic mine and the ancient wyverns, for instance. So go ahead and stay tuned for that, guys. But overall, thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. I hope you got some good information from this video, and I will see you next time.